This is episode number 167 of the Guns Magazine podcast. Hi there, and welcome to the Guns Magazine podcast, one of the shooting world's biggest gun talk programs. I'm your host and the editor of Guns Magazine, Brent Wheat. Thanks for joining us as we talk to the interesting folks who make up the world of shooting, hunting, law enforcement, and the firearms industry. But first, let's hear a word from our sponsor, 4 Patriots Food Kits. Last year, experts wrote that a food shortage could be coming, even in the U.S., but you don't have to worry about it if you create your own stockpile of the best-selling 4 Patriots Survival Food Kits. Hand-packed in the USA, the kits are compact and stack easily, and they offer many different and delicious breakfast, lunch, and dinners. Right now, in an exclusive offer to Guns Magazine podcast listeners, go to 4patriots.com and use the code GUNMAG to get 10% off your first purchase. That's the number 4, the word patriots.com. Use the code GUNMAG. In today's episode, we're talking to frequent guest Ken Campbell. He's the CEO of Gunsite Academy. They've been in the news this week because they just brought out the new GLOCK Gunsite Service Pistol. This polymer 9mm is puncturing some long-held assumptions, but Ken explains why the GSSP is the natural progression for America's premier gunfighting school. And now here's Ken Campbell giving us an exclusive look at the new GLOCK Gunsite Service Pistol. Well, cheery good morning, Ken.
And a cheery good morning, Brent.
How are things at Gunsite Academy, world-famous Gunsite Academy?
It has been blessedly wonderful, outstanding, great, busy as can be. Just it's stunning here. So it's, you know, if they say there's 10 million new gun owners, God bless them. Many of them are coming here to get training, and that's a good idea.
Well, today we're going to talk about the new Gunsite pistol, and it is, I'll let you say it. Go ahead.
Well, Gunsite's very proud about this. We've had a long-standing partnership with Colt, with the Colt Gunsite Service Pistol for decades, and that will carry on. We will continue to have the Colt Gunsite Service Pistol. But after lengthy discussions with amongst ourselves and Buzz Mills, Gunsite's owner, and so on, we then began some negotiations with, be ready to shudder, some of you old-timers, GLOCK.
Dun, dun, dun.
Jeff Cooper firmly believed and espoused that a pistol should be something that is reliable, robust, a working man's gun, if I can use that pronoun, a working man's gun that works. GLOCK has been around since 1986. We've been involved with GLOCK for many years. Back in 2011, the year we taught I was one of the range masters that taught the 100th anniversary of the 1911 pistol. Gunsite also, at GLOCK's request, taught the 25th anniversary of the GLOCK pistol.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I was one of the range masters there. So we have a long-standing relationship with GLOCK. We've been in contact with GLOCK for some months, and we are releasing at the SHOT Show, beginning at Industry Day at the range, and then our official press conference will be Tuesday morning at 10 a.m., just right out of the gate at SHOT Show with the new Gunsite Glock Service Pistol.
There, you said it.
and I didn't have severe chest pains. And we're ready to suffer some of the slings and arrows that some of the old Gunsite folks are going to throw at us about Gunsite and a Glock. And then as I explain more what this pistol is, there'll be more things for them to question. But again, I go back to it's reliable, it's robust, it works, it's affordable. I go back to our prior lives as law enforcement, and I would always think when I was sheriff, what is something that a 5-year deputy with 2 kids, a dog, 2 cars, payments for all those things, the house payment, what is something they can afford to buy without just breaking the bank and will reliably protect their lives, their families' lives, and their citizens' lives? And that's what this Glock Gunsite Service Pistol will do.
Before we get into the nuts and bolts of this gun and the process, let's go ahead and address that question you've kind of already touched on. There's this perception or an urban legend, I would almost call it, that at Gunsite, all you're allowed to carry is a 1911, blued 1911, and a leather holster. And that is absolutely not.
And we take rebar and we drive rebar into your feet to force you to stand in a traditional weaver stance.
Exactly. I forgot to mention that, but that is the perception, the urban myth. And I've talked to so many people that they're shocked when their Rangemaster was actually carrying a Glock. How can that be? So you want to address that a little bit, because it's just not the case nowadays.
Absolutely, it is not. Now, years ago, Jeff Cooper is a huge proponent of the weaver stance, of the 1911 pistol, 45 caliber, and so on. But he was a leader in his field and very forward thinking. And in that time period, the modern technique was developed. That was the best choice. But things have changed. Things have evolved. The modern technique has evolved. How many schools can you and I name, just you and I, of when the principal of that school passed away, left, retired? So did that school. It may have tried to stay for a bit, but it left. Jeff Cooper passed away in 2006, and we have had 8 record student years in a row here at Gunsite. Mm-hmm. 8. So I guess there must be something we're doing right, and a lot of that has to do with how Jeff wrote the modern technique, how it can evolve and does evolve based on real-world experience, not internet flashes, not some of the stuff we read in some of the popular press. It's based on real-world experience, law enforcement, military, and our bread and butter, citizens, earth people, their interactions. So we don't force the weaver stance. We have taught for many years what we call a modern fighting stance. Yes, I'm a weaver advocate. That's what I shoot. But I've also been to Bill Rogers School, and I shot isosceles there. I made them make me. I told them to cut a switch off the tree and crack me on the back of the calves with it to make me shoot isosceles, because that's Bill Rogers, right? And I want to respect that. But I'm a weaver advocate, but we're going to teach you to fight with the gun you bring to the best ability we can in the best stance that works for you. That's what matters. So the folks that I see on the internet, not the information superhighway, but the disinformation cowpath, the things I see there that disparages us and says these things, if I look that person's name up, if they were brave enough to put their real name, they've never been here. So they're just espousing some rumors that they want to feel important about, I guess. I don't realize I'm being very, very to the point here, and probably maybe aggravating a few of your listeners, assuming there's a half a dozen.
There's 8. We have 8.
Yeah, we may be aggravating them, but that's my belief on this. And once people come here and realize, well, then that first class at Gunsite, as I say, is just the gateway drug, and you realize what we can do, and you'll be back.
So the bottom line is, you can shoot how you want to within reason. They'll ask that you try the weaver stance, but they'll let you do whatever, and whatever gun you bring within reason. So it's much more fluid than perhaps some people, as you pointed out, would post on the internet.
Well, some of it is where they've also taken a little snippet of a 20-second Twitter video or an Instagram video, and they're critiquing that 20 seconds. And it may be training day 1 of a student where what they haven't had a chance to learn yet. So no, it is not an optimal shooting position. So they're critiquing heavily off that, as opposed to, well, let's take a look and see how they're doing on Friday.
Yeah.
After we've had to spend a week with them. We don't just teach support side foot forward. We teach strong side foot forward also, because that seems to work better with some people. We'll let you shoot an isosceles. We want you to try different things. We want you to try what we're offering. If you're just going to do it the way you've always done it, why did you give us the money? Why did you spend the money to drive out here? Try what we're offering. Now, I also say to the class on Monday morning, if you can convince me on Friday afternoon that you applied yourself, you had an open mind and you applied yourself, so that onus is on you. If you applied yourself, you didn't learn anything, and it was a waste of your time and money, I'll give you your tuition back. Now, the follow-up question would be, how many of those checks do you write? I don't have to write those checks.
Yeah.
Because we can convince people to listen and do, and they will learn some things. And you may not agree or accept all of our teaching points, but you're going to learn, you should accept and achieve some of them, which will make you a better gunfighter.
Yep. So that lays that question to rest. No, Colonel Cooper is not rotating at 42,000 RPM in his grave. He would, we all hope, would embrace this. So let's get into this process of why a Glock, aside from what you've already said.
Well, again, it's robust. It's reliable. It works. I'm not a big Glock guy. As I sit here now and talk to you, I've got a Colt Gunsite lightweight Commander on my hip.
Well, but let me interject, though. I've seen your gun cabinet, and you're very open-minded and regarding
That's where
brands.
I'm going with that. And if you looked in my vault today, as my wife, my bride Sherry would point out, okay, you don't like Glocks. How many do you have? I think I own 17 right now. Not a Model 17. I think I own 17 different Glocks. I do carry one from time to time. They work. Now, I like Fords. You may like Chevys. They both do a great job. In my prior life, I carried a Glock 21 in my police car as my backup gun. We see them out here regularly. We did a 2-day pistol-mounted optic instructor update for our staff here a month or two ago. And I shot a Glock with this new Glock in that class to test it. So I don't have a problem with them. I just like a 1911 feel better, but I do not feel undergunned or lesser with a Glock pistol in my holster.
Yeah. And, my counterpart at American Handgunner magazine, Tom McHale, I think he said it best. Shooters tend to be way too binary. It's either A or B, black or white, green or red. And the world's a little more complicated than that. So it is. The Glock is a good gun. I own several myself. I don't carry them that often, but I have, and I will in the future. So don't you think there'll be much ado over nothing on the internet when this comes out?
There will. There'll be much ado about this, but it'll still be publicity.
Yeah, true.
That's not necessarily a bad thing. Among other things, people may complain some about Gunsite and Glock partnering up for this. But the point is, show me where Glocks are known to be unreliable.
Right.
Just a stock Glock pistol. Show me. It's a Timex watch from our day. It just takes a licking and keeps on ticking. And again, we're basing that on not what we read, but what we see here at Gunsite.
Exactly.
And they're one of, if not the number one selling pistols in America. So in my prior life, as our friend Pat Rogers would say, that's a clue.
Exactly.
Let me talk about the details of the pistol. We haven't done that yet. So we can talk about what all this pistol includes. So the new Glock, the Gunsite Glock Service Pistol, will be a Glock Model 45. So in Austrian language, that means it's a 9mm. So I don't understand why the model number and the caliber are different, but that's their call. So it's the Glock Model 45. The Model 45 is the number one law enforcement selling pistol, according to Glock. So it's basically a Colt Commander. Mm-hmm. It's a Glock 19 top end and a full-size Model 17 bottom end. So I like Commander length. It just works well for me. Mm-hmm. So it'll take Glock 17 magazines. So it's a Glock Model 45. Then we had special things done to it. We asked for an FBI magazine release. The FBI magazine release it's a little oversized, but it's not big like a competition magazine release. It's just a little bit bigger, and the edges are rounded. They're kind of sharp. So the edges are rounded there. It has a lanyard loop, and that's because, well, it's tradition with us. The The Gunsite Service Pistols originally all came out with lanyard loops, and it's just kind of a nice thing. I know you used it to open beer bottles on yours, but some of us
maybe.
In our SWAT days, we put lanyards on our pistols. So that if we were low crawling through somewhere, or I remembered Indiana SWAT Officers Challenge on more than one occasion, watching some of the teams come off the rappelling towers and watching their guns tumble out of the holsters. So we added a lanyard loop to the pistol. We also have added a pistol-mounted optic. Pistol-mounted optics are the wave of the future. No, they're not the future. They are today.
Yeah.
We are with pistol-mounted optics today where we were 25 years ago with carbines. People would show up for a carbine class at Gunsite. We'd be like, what's that funny-looking juice can on top of that rifle there, son? Real men use iron sights.
Yeah.
Well, anymore, if you don't have an optic, a red dot, whatever you want to call it, on your carbine, what's the matter with you? They work. They're robust.
Yeah.
So now 50-60% of the pistols in our classes now have a pistol-mounted optic of some sort. We even do separate pistol-mounted optic classes because some people really want to get into the weeds on pistol-mounted optics. You ought to talk to Eric Gelhaus on one of your podcasts here.
We have.
Okay. All right. Well, he's a subject matter expert on it. So we put a pistol-mounted optic on this, and not just put it on there. There's some ways to mount these optics, and one of them is you put them on the plate mounts to the gun, and then the optic mounts to the plate. We call that a failure point.
Yep.
And we've seen that where those screws shear off. Well, Glock will mill the slide for military and law enforcement, and oh wait, they'll mill the slide for Gunsite Academy also. So the pistol-mounted optic is mounted direct to the slide. The optic we chose is the Holosun 509T. It's their latest and greatest. It's got the little solar charger on it to help keep the batteries charged up. You can choose some different reticles and so on. Holosun is not an up-and-comer anymore in the pistol-mounted optic industry. It's been here a while, and it is a huge seller. Again, reliable, robust, they work. Now, I'll suffer the slings and arrows. Some folks will say it's made in China and so on. I agree. I don't necessarily like that. But if you don't like the Holosun, here's what you do. It's a big secret. You take the Holosun off and you sell it. And you buy an Aim Point or a Acme or a Go Faster or whatever brand you want and put that on the gun. That's the simple thing there. So we got the pistol-mounted optic, direct mill to the slide, the FBI mag hatch, the lanyard loop. It has a minus connector so that the trigger press is a little bit better. And it is. If you shoot a stock Glock with a standard connector and then shoot a minus, you can tell that difference in there. Then a couple other neat things. It's got a Mariglow suppressor sights on, so that in the event your pistol-mounted optic fails, you've got backup iron sights that you can see through the optic. It also has a couple of neat, fun features. It has what we call the bird and the word. It has the raven horizontally on the top of the slide, right behind the front sight, and the word Gunsite vertically down the top of the slide. And, that's just aesthetics, but we think it looks pretty cool.
Yeah.
And the serial number will begin with API, which is American Pistol Institute, Gunsite's original name. And then serial number, the initial purchase will be 1,000 guns. So it's serial number API 1 through 1,000. We've partnered with Davidson's, a great wholesaler. They're in this area. Also, we partnered with them with the Colt Gunsite Service Pistols and continue to do that. So we're working with Davidson's. So this pistol will be available right after SHOT Show through a Davidson's dealer or through the Gunsite Pro Shop. Now, let me throw in a plug for the Gunsite Pro Shop. I know you're shocked here that I'm going to do this. If you purchase the Glock Gunsite Service Pistol from the Gunsite Pro Shop, it comes with a very special cover plate, the back plate. It will be what we call the Retro Raven, which is the flying bird with the word Gunsite across it. That cover plate will only be available on that gun from this Pro Shop. And so it's just kind of a style point. It came from a Davidson's dealer. Oh, see, mine came from the pro shop. It's just a nice little extra we can do here at the pro shop for folks. Yeah. And we think these are going to sell just like hotcakes.
Yeah.
But if there's a certain serial number you might be interested in, if you call the pro shop, talk to Lindy or Susan, they can tell you what serial numbers might be available.
Very cool. Very cool. So I know you've shown it around. You let instructors shoot it. What have been some of the reviews so far?
So far, so good. No issues. Again, I shot it in our pistol-mounted optic instructor update, and even 1911 Ken had good things to say about it. I've not cleaned the gun or had it cleaned since we started shooting it, and I've sent it around to our instructors have had it. We've had some different gun publications like Guns
yes.
have it to be able to shoot it. And so on, and it's a Glock. It's just going to keep on running. You just throw a little bit of lube on it every now and again, and it just keeps on running. And we've run a variety of ammo. I used one of your ammo tests with it. It's one of my favorites. When you talk about having that mixed bag of ammo,
yep.
It's various grains, it's hollow points, it's ball, it's truncated cone. It's just thrown in that bag left over from shooting sessions. So that's one of my tests.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just use that mixed bag of ammo. So the cyclic rate's a little bit different and so on, and it ran through that just fine. So far, other than some folks saying, well, I wish it was more like a 1911 trigger. Well, I understand, but it's a Glock trigger.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be a 1911. My J-frame that I carry all the time as my backup gun, it's not a 1911 trigger. Folks, deal with what you got and learn how to shoot it.
Well, and as you said earlier, if you want something different, well, buy something different. Don't try to make it something it's not.
Exercise that great unalienable right and go out and buy something else then.
So I guess the big think question here is now Gunsite is officially partnering with Glock. Do you think this is going to change folks' perceptions?
Oh, I don't know, Brent. Again, folks bring every brand of gun, every reliable brand of gun you can think of out here, and we teach them how to shoot it. But for some folks are going to be aggravated with us because, again, it's a Glock and it's not a 45.
Yeah.
I didn't address that point. And it's not a 45, it's a 9mm. Some folks are going to be aggravated about that. But I think this will help reinforce the point that we aren't the Southwest Dinosaur League, like some folks on the internet claim we are. And again, people that have never been here. We're a fighting school, and we're going to teach you how to fight with a weapon system you bring, and we see a lot of people bring Glock pistols.
And truly, I don't know when it was, but a class or media event, I noticed that the range master and the coaches were all carrying Glocks, and it wasn't a big deal.
What they carry?
Yeah, exactly.
We don't dictate what they carry. I've got some instructors here teaching, and we've got some 1911s. I've got some SIGs. I'm trying to think who I got here. Tomorrow will be what we call Python Friday, and those with the Colt Pythons, we'll be carrying those. I've got instructors carrying Glocks. I can't think beyond that right now on what all I've seen in the guys' holsters this week, but we've got a variety of guns. They're all accurate, reliable name brands because they are accurate and reliable.
Yeah, exactly. Again, I think the overarching thing here is people need to understand that Gunsite is a fighting school. You don't focus on competition. You don't focus on hunting per se, even though you do have a little bit of that. But mainly it's a fighting school, and you embrace what has been proven to work in the field. It's not, as you say, the technique of the week kind of thing.
No, it is not. And we'll get some gamers, if you will, and we welcome gamers. It is a good way to practice. It is a good way to get your heart rate up and so on. But we'll get gamers so when the target faces, they can shoot really well.
Mm-hmm.
But then when we get them into the live fire shoot house and the outdoor simulators, that's where your grade is made here and how you fight. And the gamers don't always do so well because they want to do their gaming skills in there, or maybe they shoot good guy targets.
Right.
So they don't get as good a grade as they thought because, well, look, I ate the center out of that target on the traditional range. Yes, you did. You also shot 2 good guys in the shoot houses.
A less than optimal outcome.
Yes. So because our focus is on fighting. Yes, we do gun handling and marksmanship. That's a part of our triad. But the mindset is what's crucial here. And what it boils down to sometimes on the grades, would you take that person with you in a fight? Mm-hmm. And if the answer is yes, then their grade is enhanced because you are comfortable. And you and I have been in that situation with each other and with other various partners. And we can speak to that personally.
Yep.
And again, let me compliment you. When you and I went into something, I didn't worry about my back because you had it.
Yep.
So that's what we're looking for in the fighting world.
Well, go ahead and address the 9mm 45. Again, we've made numerous reference to this, that nowadays with modern bullet technology, the differences aren't all that different. But talk about why you guys chose a 9 versus a 45.
Well, what you want me to be a gun writer and talk 9mm versus 45? The ultimate shootout, the ultimate man stopper. You know what? You and I had a good friend, a state trooper by the name of Mike Green, that was murdered with a 25 auto.
Yeah.
I am not going to stand downrange and make faces at somebody with a 25, a 22, a 9, a 454 Casull, whatever it is. All right. Number one, it's as Jeff Cooper said, it's the man, it's not the gun.
Right.
And it's all about shot placement. So yes, I like 45s. Old, fat, and slow isn't a bad thing at my point in my life, right? And that kind of describes that 45 caliber round.
I'm sorry, I lost focus. Were you talking about me?
No, well, maybe both of us.
Yeah.
So when we get into the 9 versus 45, and the argument applies to, or the comments applies to both calibers, but the 9mm isn't what it was in 1980, 1985, 1990, and so on. Neither is the 45 caliber bullet. Mm-hmm. The technology and the development and the science behind all these has changed, and the rounds are enhanced. And a 9 does a much better job than it used to do. So does a 45. But people tend to shoot the 9mm better, a little less perceived recoil, and so on and so on. Well, again, let's go back to what I said. It's all about shot placement. I'm not worried about having 17 rounds in the gun. I'm worried about round number 1 and round number 2, because that's probably what's going to solve most of the problems, the vast majority of the problems we're going to face. We're not going into the Mall of Mumbai. Mm-hmm. It's going to be street crime, something like that, odds are. So I'm more concerned about being able to hit with my first 2-3 rounds. So if I can shoot a 9mm more effectively, more quickly, for those that worry about split times, if I can shoot it more effectively, more accurately, more quickly, and get better hits, solid hits, am I really gaining anything by having a larger caliber? So we opted with this pistol to go with the 9mm. Now, that's not to say, let's think 2-3 years down the road. That's not to say that there may not be a Glock Model 30 gunsight pistol. I don't know that. Let's see how this goes first. But we may go with that too. We've got 4 different models of the Colt Gunsight Service Pistol, mm-hmm. Including 9mm. So let's see what happens. But I don't feel undergunned when I'm carrying a 9mm. Do you?
No. And as you were talking, I'm sitting here, literally at my right hand is my Colt concealed carry officers, and it's a 45. But honestly, what I carry the majority of the time is a micro or subcompact 9, and I don't feel undergunned at all. But that doesn't mean I won't carry my Colt pistol. But again, we get so caught up in splitting hairs. It's more about, and this is what I've always tried to emphasize, you got to get the rounds on target. You know, if
right,
all you got's that 22 in your hand, put them on target, and you will stop your adversary. It's not the gun I would choose to take into a fight. But as you said, I'm not going to stand down range and argue, well, that 25 is, it's not the ultimate man stopper and you shouldn't carry it. Well, if you can hit what you're intending to hit when you need to hit it, that's the first consideration, and everything else is a little bit splitting hairs.
Years ago, I was in what was called the VAP, vehicle, all purpose. It was some Volkswagen flatbeds that Jeff Cooper had here, and I'm riding in the cab with Jeff and another student. And the student was talking about he worked in the medical field and could only carry a very small pistol under his scrubs and so on. He talked about the Walther PPK. And Jeff said, well, if you're going to carry that, then carry it in a 22, not in the 380. Because the 22, you have a smaller bullet, you have a sub-performing caliber, so you have to shoot them in the eye with it. So you will. And if you're carrying a gun that you think is a performing round, well, you may not try to do that well. And obviously that's been, God, how many years ago? Probably the mid-'90s.
Yeah.
And that has stuck with me, and it makes sense. If all I have is a 22, I know I've got to put it in the tear duct. Well, that's what I'm going to do.
Yep.
And that will solve my problem. If I think I've got something that might be a little bigger, I might try those center of mass of what's presented to me shots first when I should have gone with that headshot.
Exactly. Now, I'm going to close out this interview with the impossible task. Ken, give me 30 seconds on Gunsite.
30 seconds? Who are you kidding? Gunsite's the world's oldest and largest privately owned firearms training academy. We've been in business over 47 years. We have trained thousands and thousands and thousands of people, good Americans and good foreign nationals, in how to stay alive. We continue to get either phone calls or emails or letters from folks saying what I learned there work. I just got one yesterday from a lady, as a matter of fact, because what we do here works. It's tried and true. There are some other really great training academies out there, but we are, and the best quote I heard in our lunchroom here a few weeks ago, we're the unwoke Disneyland with guns. We can do everything here. We can shoot from contact distance to 2,400 yards. Pistols, carbines, rifles, shotguns, edged weapons, tactical medicine, and different variants there. Visit Gunsite.com and see the variety of courses that we offer here. Yes, we're expensive. What do you value your life on? What do you value your spouse's life on? What did you spend on the fancy wheels and stereo system on your car? What did you spend on the surround sound system on your big screen TV? Will any of those things save your child's life? What we teach you here will.
And what is the Gunsite web address, please?
www.gunsite, Gunsite.com. Gunsite.com. We're the oldest. We're the best.
All righty. Well, Ken Campbell, thank you very much. As always, whenever you're on the podcast, how do we end it?
When are you coming to Gunsite?
Thank you very much. And we'll revisit this in 6 months and see how it's gone.
Okay. And I think it's your turn to buy the first round of bourbon. Just pointing that out for all the public. So.
Oh, we may have to edit that out.
All right. We'll see you soon, Brent. Thanks very much.
I appreciate Ken taking time to talk about the new GSSP, and yes, I've got one on order. If you like this episode, you might want to go back and check out episode number 83 called Snubbie Love with Roy Huntington, or maybe episode 88 talking about being a DIY instructor with this week's guest, Ken Campbell. And finally, one of our most compelling episodes ever, episode number 116 called I Was There, the North Hollywood Shootout with Vince Bancroft. If there's a topic you want to hear, somebody you'd like us to interview, or you want to share your thoughts, please drop me a line at editor@gunsmagazine.com. As always, you can find us on your favorite podcast directory such as Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audible, and several others. And there is also YouTube and at gunsmagazine.com. You can also subscribe to the Gun Cranks audio podcast on those same directories, or watch it at the Gun Cranks YouTube channel. And while you're online, don't forget to check out our great sister publications, American Handgunner Magazine at AmericanHandgunner.com, AmericanCop.com, and our numerous special editions available for sale on our websites and at Amazon. And before we go, I'd like to remind you to visit our sponsor, 4Patriots Survival Food Kits. You can find out more about their great food kits at 4patriots.com. That's the number 4, the word patriots.com. That's it for this episode of the Guns Magazine podcast. For the entire staff at FMG Publications, I'm Guns Magazine editor Brent Wheat. Now get out there and get shooting.